All right, welcome back to Conservative Arkansas Media. I'm Paul Harrell. Thanks so much for being with us. I want to introduce State Representative Jack Ladyman. He joins the program. Jack, it's great to talk to you again, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great, Paul. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. I want to get your thoughts on the general feel. You have served several terms down in Little Rock as a state representative, representing a portion of Northeast Arkansas. What's the feel down there in the legislature with Sarah Huckabee Sanders now governor versus the old administration?
Well, it's quite different. I was down here during the entire term of Governor Hutchinson. So, over the 8 years, we had good working relationships and had developed that over time. So it was a big change, with the new administration. I think 11 of the 14 secretaries are new. So, when you have that kind of change in executive uh, leadership, it takes a while, to get the relationships going, and that's happened. We've got to learn new people; they've got to learn us. So it's been a little bit of a slow start for that reason. The governor has come out with some very large uh, bills, uh, big, big items that she's wanting to run. So that's taken a lot of time and energy for
Yeah.
those two major bills.
Well, and I
Um,
know, I mean, I
the
know
question,
last night, or yesterday, you had the education bill. I think it was heard in the morning and it was heard in the afternoon, and I think
yes,
it passed. I guess what's today? So Wednesday evening, it actually passed out of the Senate committee. Is that right?
I think that's right. But I was in insurance and commerce, and we were working on the net metering bill for solar, and we were in there in the morning and the afternoon. We were in there until about 5. So I couldn't
Wow.
really track that, hadn't really talked to anybody. I knew it was there. I heard about some of the discussion, but I didn't really know that it passed until you mentioned it. Uh,
Well,
but it
talk a
was
little.
debated heavily.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, you mentioned. I've heard from legislators that it's the legislative process just seems to be more, I don't know, free, if you will.
More free. I don't know. I'm not sure what you mean.
What I mean by that is people just feel like if they have an idea and they can file they can create a bill, they can file it, they can without getting any pushback. It's going to be debated based on the merits of the concept, the merits of the idea.
Well, I don't know that I've seen that personally. Maybe some people have, but as far as that goes, filing bills and putting in your own bills that you think are good ideas, I haven't seen that change for me personally. That may have some for some other folks, and again, I think that goes back to what kind of relationship you have with the executive branch.
Yeah,
How do you talk to them on a regular basis? Not that you agree with them on everything, but do you have that open discussion, that open line
yeah.
of communication?
Well, talk to us a
But no,
little
I
bit about
haven't seen that myself.
talk to us a little bit about your bill. I want to have you on. I mean, this is kind of a bill that's might be considered obscure, but I wanted to have you on to talk about it. House Bill 1038, an act to amend the law concerning the lighting requirements for fire department vehicles, ambulances, other purposes. Tell us about this. I've been talking to several legislators. There's always these bills are always trying to address problems. So tell us how this particular problem came to your attention, and what is this bill going to do to fix it?
Well, this bill was, it was brought to me by the assistant fire chief up at Fayetteville. Called me. The Fire Chiefs Association had a meeting, and this is one of the things that they wanted to try to do was to get this bill passed. And so William called me and said, "Hey, how do we do this?" And I told him, I said, "Well, just send me the information. I'll file a bill for you. Give me some background on it." And he did that. And when I got the information, looked at it, I thought this is really a good idea. Of course, Paul, I think I was a safety guy for many, many years with large corporations, and that's what this is. It's a safety bill for our first responders, which primarily that's firemen and ambulance drivers, but it also includes the police and the public that's out there driving on the highways. And the main thing that this bill would do is it would improve the safety of first responders responding to incidents out on the highways, especially the 4 lane roads like 40, 30, 67, those roads. And so when I talk to people about that, they say, well, this is a really good idea. But some of the law enforcement pushed back on this because what the bill would do, let me just give you the crux of the bill. It would allow blue lights on the back of fire engines and ambulances. Less than 50% of the lighting on the back could be blue. The reason for that is that if people would slow down if they see blue lights are more visible under certain conditions, like at night and maybe during bad weather. So it would improve the safety for the first responders as well as the people passing by. And the firemen in particular, sometimes the state police will call them and say, "Hey, will you bring out a fire engine and block traffic because we've got an incident where we need to cut somebody out of a car or whatever." And so they will actually park the engine on the 4 lane road to block traffic. And many of those engines have been hit. People have been injured, and that's actually increasing. So there's a lot more I could say about this,
Well,
Paul.
no,
But
I
maybe you
mean,
got something.
so why was there pushback again? So, I mean, because it sounds like kind of a no brainer. You're enabling ambulances and fire trucks to add the color blue to their lights, and the police don't like this. Why is this a problem?
Well, they had some concerns about releasing blue lights to that they might get out into the public, and people might misuse those blue lights. One of the things they talked about was, well, if you give all the firemen blue lights on their pickup trucks, and there's going to be more lights out. People aren't going to stop like they do now when we want to stop them. Uh, Somebody might misuse those blue lights. Uh,
Well, I mean, yeah, I
to
mean,
stop people.
worst case scenario, you have it get to some guy who's not even in any sort of first responder capability at all. And we, of course, I remember growing up, the blue light rapist, was pulling people over and
Right.
that sort of thing. So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's a legitimate concern here. I suppose if that's what they're worried about. Um,
Well, that's the concern, and it is. But the bill is, and I wanted to restrict this, Paul. As you know, I used to be a mayor, and I've worked with fire departments and police departments. And police have always said we're blue, the fire is red. That's always been the status quo, and I understand that they want to control the blue lights, but things change, and we've had people get hit. I had some statistics here if I can find them. Uh, in Jacksonville in 2012, there were 2 Jacksonville firefighters and a police officer who were struck on the highway out there. I guess it was 67. One of the firefighters died at the scene. The other 2 went to the hospital in critical condition. Uh, Here's some statistics. Uh, in 2022, there were 61,000 incidents on roadways. 603 of these resulted in fatalities.
hmm.
One first responder in West Memphis was killed. So, I mean, there's a lot of data out there that says it's dangerous, right?
And would
And if we
this
can do
would this just allow individual ambulance services and fire departments to put blue lights if they want to, or is this going to require that they have blue lights?
it's optional. It's
Optional.
optional. And I've had many fire departments call me and say, "Hey, we want this." I talked to the fire department there in Jonesboro, and they're not really going to do it, even if it passes, because they don't feel like they need it. But I had a small fire department up in White County that responds to 67 incidents, and they really want this because they're a small volunteer fire department. They're concerned about their firefighters. So it's all over the state as to who wants it and who don't.
Yeah.
but it's optional. Northwest Arkansas really wants it because they've got a lot of traffic up there. But let me just say, the blue lights would only be on the back of fire engines and ambulances, only on the back. Only 50% could be blue. Um, the only people that could buy these blue lights would be the fire chief or the ambulance company owner, the CEO. So we locked that down. The other thing is, Paul, that every state that touches Arkansas has this law in place except Tennessee. So if Tennessee were to pass this, we'd be last in another category, and we don't want to go there.
Well, and that
We don't want
also,
to be
that also illustrates this is not just something that's coming out of left field. So, I mean, I didn't even know. I had no idea that you couldn't use a blue light on an ambulance or fire truck. I had no idea. So, and maybe there's Arkansans listening right now, watching right now, and they didn't know either. So, this is an example of ideas that are being debated down at the Capitol. And State Representative Jack Ladyman, I appreciate you coming on the program and educating us.
Well, Paul, I appreciate you having me. 10 states have actually passed this law already. So I think it's a good thing. I think it would protect our first responders, which we really need to do. Those guys put their life on the line.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you coming on, sir. Let's do it again soon.
All right, Paul.